Hello, welcome back to the neurodivergent kid and parent version of my Just Say This podcast. I'm Amy Lang. I help parents of neurodivergent and neurotypical kids figure out how to communicate with them about sex, love, and relationships. You can learn more about me and get way more information about how to do this on my website, link down below. And then if you're struggling with something in particular, I do quickies, which are 30-minute consultations. They're super fast, they're deep dive, and I make sure you have a plan and resources so you can do what you need to do for your kid. Okay, big question for parents of neurodivergent kids. Should you put them on birth control? And yes, depending. I realize that this is of course, it's a family choice. I'm also not a medical person, if you haven't noticed that. If you listen to the general one, I say that 73 times, but there's more detailed information about this and my perspective. But let me just talk about for you and your child. I'm a yes, mainly because neurodivergent girls are very vulnerable to being taken advantage of. They can't read social cues very well sometimes. They go along to get along. They mask. They don't understand what's happening. Their peers may be doing a lot of pressuring around, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend, having a relationship. You frankly may not be talking with them enough about sex. Sometimes parents of neurodivergent kids or disabled kids, and anyway, I just said that. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but kids who are different, we have them this idea they're kind of trapped in childhood. They're not going to need it. They're not going to be capable of having sexual romantic relationships, or they're not interested. And that thing can really get in the way of you supporting your child in the way they need to be supported. So if you have a neurodivergent girl, I would seriously consider doing this. I realize that there might be medication issues. There might be just like your personal values. But because of this vulnerability, I think it's super important that you really consider this and make sure they understand what it is. There's a link to a very wordy description of birth control, but I highly recommend you go read it and then chunk it down into little pieces so you can talk with your child in a way that they can understand. Everybody needs to know about birth control, whether they're an impregnator or a person who can get pregnant. They need this information because it's about health and safety. And if you assume your child's not going to have sex because maybe they don't have access to people or they don't seem interested, you're doing them a disservice and you're putting them at risk. And I want your child to have a really healthy sense of themselves as a sexual person, whatever that looks like, and to understand that protecting yourself from pregnancy that's not planned is really important. That if you do decide to have them take the pill or patch or IUD or whatever method, that they understand what it's for and what it's doing. And so some neurodivergent girls really struggle with their periods. They're freaked out about blood. They have bad cramps. They cannot track it. And so it's a constant surprise, which, for those of us who've had periods, even if you are tracking it, it can be a surprise. And so this is one of the things you can do to prevent their period from starting. It does not hurt their body, not starting, continuing. They need to have a period for a while before you consider doing this. Obviously, doctor talk. Medical care provider talk. And that period piece can be hard. And so you can take the birth control consecutively so you don't bleed. It doesn't hurt their bodies. And again, it protects them. So your kid, right? Your kid, your family values, and that you want your child to be healthy and safe. And I can't push enough on the piece around vulnerability. And I'm not doing this to scare you. I'm just doing this to reality you. And so the birth control piece, talking about sex, talking about consent really clearly, concretely, having lots of conversations is super important. Okay, now we're going to talk about the penis havers. Everybody needs to know about condoms. With a neurodivergent kid, they need to have step-by-step instructions about how you use a condom, why you use a condom, demos with a banana or a cucumber, very clear description of how this works. And again, I know I love a black and white thinker. And this person, kind of in general, it's really easy to communicate, kind of hard to communicate with, but I love the part where you can just be like, bleh, and say the thing. use a condom every single time you have any kind of sex, right? Very clear. So being very clear about that. And you want to say vaginal, anal, oral. I know you're having a little panic attack because, yeah, you don't want your kid to know about that, but they need to. Again, it's safety, it's health, and healthy sexuality. Okay, there's some links down below for you. If this has freaked you out, please let me know. Happy to do a quickie with you. It always sounds terrible and hilarious to me. And then what else? Oh, if there's something you want me to cover, please let me know. My contact information is all over the place. And remember that you are helping another parent with this. There are no resources basically for parents of neurodivergent kids between the ages of like birth and 12-ish, middle school. So if you have a friend or a family that you know struggling with this, or even better, hasn't like stepped into this universe, hi, this might be too much to start with. Please forward this along and share. Okay, thank you so much. Take care. Good luck. You can do this.